We're live at the National Constitution Center in Philadelphia ahead of the first presidential debate. Both nominees will define themselves tonight and lay out to voters where they stand on major issues that affect us all. Number one among them, the economy. So let's bring in our chief economics correspondent, Rebecca Jarvis from New York, with where things stand after inflation reached a 40-year high in 2022. Rebecca?
Well, Martha, Trump's key advantage coming into tonight's debate is the economy. According to the latest numbers from Pew, 55% of voters say they are very or somewhat confident in Trump to make good decisions about economic policy, compared with 45% who say that about Harris. Harris has to walk a fine line tonight between owning the Biden economy while also differentiating her path forward. Inflation, as you just mentioned, Martha, it's come way down from that peak 9% to under 3% now. Wages are going up faster than prices today. Unemployment is 4.2%. That is historically very low. It is starting to tick higher, but it's still been incredibly low throughout this presidency for the most part. But people still feel sticker shock, and that is because prices are up substantially from 3 years ago. The typical family is now paying about $1,100 more a month today on the same goods and services as they were in January of 2021. Inflation is not just a problem here in the U.S. It is a worldwide issue since the pandemic. But Americans are looking to our next president to make the American dream achievable and the cost of living affordable, and that is what they want to hear tonight from the nominees. Who has that plan, Martha?
Thanks so much, Rebecca. It's something I hear from voters all over the country. That's what they want to talk about. That's what they want to hear. Kamala Harris knows that she is vulnerable on this.
Yeah, and she knows that this is top of mind for so many of those voters, and that she is walking this fine line, as Rebecca described. She's proud of her record with Joe Biden, the Bidenomics record, but she knows she has to build on that and make clear to voters what she would do differently, how she would make a difference in their actual wallets. It's one of the few policy areas that she's gone into the most detail of so far. She knows that she has to continue to make that argument.
And Rachel, Donald Trump has just seized on this issue again and again, over and over.
Again and again, and for good reason, because you just heard from Rebecca there. This is the single most important issue to voters, and he does have an edge on Vice President Kamala Harris in poll after poll. It's a big reason why his advisors want him to focus on the issues tonight, not the attacks.
And the other issue where he has the huge advantage is the border security, immigration. So let's bring in Maria Villarreal down at the border in El Paso, Texas. Maria.
Well, you know, John, as of right now, we have seen the encounter numbers declining since June. That is when we saw President Biden come in with that executive order, basically shutting down the border between the ports of entry. A lot of agents, a lot of law enforcement that I've been speaking with along the border, they say as of right now, things are quiet and manageable. And then you add to that the tighter asylum restrictions and then the summer heat, and things are considerably different than what we saw in places like El Paso, where we're standing right now, in comparison to what we saw last year, right? The thing about immigration is it is an unknown for most of America, and that generates a lot of fear in people, which is why this has become a very hot topic. When we saw Trump on the border in Arizona a few weeks ago, he laid out part of his plan talking about tighter restrictions and penalties as part of what he wants to do if he's elected. On the other side of it, we haven't heard much from Harris when it comes to her immigration plan, other than she would try and resurrect that border security bill that was torpedoed right now. Listen, we have talked to voters. They want facts, they want policy, they want strategy. John?
And look, Trump's been taking a hard line on this issue for a long, long time, but an even harder line this time than when he first ran.
Yeah, he is vowing mass deportations, and in a recent interview, he suggested that he would even use the National Guard and even the military to target. We're talking about 15 million to 20 million people, possibly. The last government estimate was 11 million migrants, which he hasn't necessarily explained exactly how this would be carried out, but it is one of the campaign promises that he makes over and over again at every single rally, John.
And Kamala Harris defending her record. She's not the border czar. They call her the border czar.
Yeah, and she knows tonight that she has to make clear to voters really what her role was here. She was not the border czar. She was never tasked with border security, as Trump has argued. She was put in charge of addressing the root causes of immigration. But it is certainly safe to say that they know this is a vulnerability for her. She is braced for those attacks to come tonight.
Okay, another key issue, crime and safety, of course, top issue in the election. Chief Justice correspondent Pierre Thomas has been tracking this for us. Pierre, joining us from D.C., Donald Trump has been slamming Democrats and Kamala Harris over the issue of violent crime, saying that it is way on the rise. What is the reality here?
John, here are the facts. Crime, particularly violent crime and gun violence, rose dramatically in Trump's final year in office. That increase continued in the first year of the Biden administration, but for the past 2 years, we've seen significant decreases, sometimes double-digit decreases in violent crime. Murder so far this year is down 17% in the nation's biggest cities. But no one's jumping for joy because gun violence is a chronic epidemic in this nation, and they're always flashing symbols that are painful reminders. And in just the past 7 days alone, we had a 14-year-old boy walk into a Georgia high school and allegedly kill 2 classmates and 2 teachers using an assault rifle. As we speak, there's a desperate manhunt in Kentucky to find the sniper who was shooting at people driving along a busy highway. These are all impacts on the way people actually feel, John.
Yeah, whatever the global stats are, people are concerned about crime. Martha?
And, of course, another key issue, abortion, Mary. And Kamala Harris looks at this as a very strong issue for the Democrats.
She has been out in front on this issue and hammering Donald Trump on this, blaming him, pointing the finger squarely at him, saying he is to blame for the tough new abortion restrictions sweeping the country. We have seen over and over again that she notes that he has bragged about appointing the Supreme Court justices who overturned Roe. She knows that polling shows this is a winning issue for her. And, of course, that every time that abortion access has been on the ballot since Roe was overturned, reproductive rights have won. They see this as an issue that they hope will drive voters to the polls in November, especially as Donald Trump has been really struggling to define his position.
And he really has struggled to define that position. He takes credit for helping to overturn Roe v. Wade, but otherwise not very specific.
He has been all over the map on this issue, but when you look at his record and what he has done, he has appointed 3 of the 5 Supreme Court justices that overturned Roe versus Wade. That cleared the way for 22 states to either ban or severely restrict access to abortion. But Trump has also said, even though he believes this should be a states issue, he believes some states have gone too far. He thinks the 6-week abortion ban in Florida, for instance, his home state, has gone too far. He didn't like that abortion ban that almost went into effect in Arizona. This is important for 2 reasons. As Mary mentioned, it's going to be on the ballot in a number of states, including several battleground states. And this issue has won every single time, even in conservative states. Second reason why this is important, Donald Trump is losing ground when it comes to likely female voters against Vice President Kamala Harris.
And a very, very important demographic.